This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be
Okay.
recorded.
So now this was one of my integrations which I worked on, and in this it's more like we had to send just normal fields. So I use this integration document to create our integrations. So the flow is like, first of all we have to create a custom report, and then that will be the source of our EIB, and with that EIB we have to generate a CSV file. So now, looking at this requirement, like looking at those fields, can you tell me what should be the approach? Anybody can just take up this and let me know.
What is your question?
So this is the fields which we have to add in our custom report. Okay. So let me know what can be the field and how do we do that.
Yeah, you should go for a advanced report, and looks like your data sources they all workers, and
Yeah.
primary business object is a worker, right? And you already provide the fields here. Uh, that's what I can say at this point of time by looking at the first tab.
So let's start with the first field. Let's start with the first field. It's like must insert TPV. So there is no such direct field there in the system. So if there is any text value which we have to add it in our report, what is the calculated field we have to bring on?
Text constant.
Exactly. So for these two fields, we'll be using the text constant because we have to insert. So typically in your, whenever you're going for your integrations and whenever any such requirement comes, your business analyst, or suppose if you are doing the requirement gathering, once the client tells that, okay, this is a hard coded value, which is like any particular text value we have to put in, automatically in front of that, we write it down that it will be a text constant, right? Is that making sense?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
And similarly,
Yes, sir.
we have the last name. We have the last name in the field, first name in the field, middle name in Workday, date of birth in Workday. These are like blank values, so that's fine. And these are again like hard-coded values, that is OEVS enter for 0. So those were the calculated field text constant. So now this is the same requirement we have to replicate in our integrations, and we have to generate an output file of the CSV format. CSV format is nothing but like comma separated file, right? So each record, like after each record, there will be a comma in each row, correct?
Hey, how do you handle blank record, blank data?
Sorry?
It's empty string, empty string. How do
Are
you
you
go?
going?
And I'm just no. I'm just asking, how do you hand how do
I'm
you
saying your
hand the
voice is a bit low.
you proceed around?
No, what you're asking, Bala?
Actually,
No, I
Balaji is
want to
asking
know.
how you manage blank records, the
So
Yes.
blank
blank
column.
record is like we have to put in empty, a blank column in that. So for that, there is predefined Workday field which is called the empty string. You can directly use that. Okay, so there are two ways. I'll tell you like how to handle blank records. There are two ways. One is using the EIB, which we are gonna see now, and another is using the XSLT, which we're gonna take up next when we'll be creating the XSLTs for the integrations. So there is before I move into the tenant, let me tell you a few things. So there is a predefined, or you can say a predefined integration type in Workday system, which is called the EIB. So what EIB, the full form is Enterprise Interface Builder. So what EIB does is that it is purely like predefined custom integrations, which is in the Workday tenant. So task is again pretty much straightforward, that create EIB. In that it asks for like what is the data source for this particular integration. So the data source would be the custom report we have built in. So any custom report which, if it is of type advanced and enabled as web service, can be the input for any integrations, whether it is EIB or anything. So we'll first create the report, then in our EIB we will choose that report as our data source, and then in EIB itself there is a custom transformation which I'll show you. In that you can directly choose whether you want to create a CSV file, whether you want to create a text file, or you want to create an XML file, anything kind of that. You can choose that, and once you choose it, then it will tell, okay, column by column it will open, and you have to just tell what is your delimiter value, whether it is a comma or anything like that, if you want to add a header or a footer. Based on that, once you do everything and you click save, your integration is completed, and once you run it, you will get the input output file in that Workday tenant. So I'll show you how. Let's just build this custom report. So I'll build it in the remote desktop itself, so that is for your reference. So first of all, we'll create a custom report. So I'll just put in the same name as we have like in our integration with scientific 5236 Workday employee information. So CR underscore So now there's one more thing, like whenever you create a custom report, before that try to create all those calculated fields so that you can directly use it in your custom report, or add a separate tab where you keep on creating the calculated fields and keep on adding it into your custom report. So my first calculated field is a text constant which I have to build, that is a TPV. So I'll just duplicate this. Let's just put in the value which we have to print and just click OK. So that is first calculated field which we have created. I'll add it in my custom report. So moving on to the next field, we have 214 again as a text constant field. So there's one shortcut way, like if you have to create a similar text constant field which is already there in the system, you can just copy it. So I'll just show you, like go to the calculated field, click on copy. So you just have to put in the name. And then now We have to add last name, first name, middle name. Now another is date of birth. And if you see, they have specifically defined it in a format. So what is a calculated field will do?
Date format.
Date format. Yeah. So format date is a calculated field which will create now. So date field I'll choose is our date of birth. Format I'll choose is as and I have to make it as MMDDYYYY.
MMDDYYY.
Right?
Yes.
So system, then we have three blank strings. So for this, we have directly a function which is called the empty string or empty instance. You can choose anything as a part of your report. Whenever there is a blank string and if you're creating in EIB, you can just choose empty string, just like this.
Okay. Hey, Arun, this is where my question is. Suppose if you want, suppose if you want a 3-character. Okay, I got it. Proceed.
Okay. So there's again empty string. So there were three empty strings we had for that requirement. So then we have two more calculated fields for text constant. One is OEVS and then 000. So we create two more calculated fields.
So Arun, every empty string contains single character.
It will be a blank string. It will not contain any character. It will just be a blank
That
column.
that means one empty string
Will be a one
occupied
column.
one.
Will be a one column.
Okay.
So one more thing you have to make sure that you do is like whenever you create a web service enabled root, these column heading override XML alias should not be same. So just put in some numbers or make it some different so that it doesn't get confused. So I created my custom report. Let's just run it and see how it is working. So if you see, 3 columns have come up, which is just like empty strings and nothing else. And it has all the data. So like it has first 2 text constants, the last name, first name, is there any middle name, it's a middle name, date of birth in the format, and then 2 or 3 empty strings and then text constants, right? Is that fine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we take
So
this output in text format?
sorry,
Can we take this type of output in text format?
that's why we create the EIVs then.
Okay.
To create these files into CSV or into text format or into any other format. That's why we create the integrations. So now I'll create the integration. The task is called create EIB. That is our first integration type which we are going to use. So there are 2 types of EIB integrations. One is the inbound and one is the outbound. So outbound integration is what we are doing. That is extracting the data from Workday and sending it to any third-party vendor, right? Inbound is getting an input file and upload the data into the system. So just like to take an example, that suppose we had to create organizations, we were using that iLoad sheet, right? Similarly, EIB inbound uses the same iLoad sheets, upload it into the EIBs, and then create those supervisory organizations or create any kind of data which we want to enter into the system. We can do that. So we'll learn about the inbound as well. So today we are learning about the EIB outbound, which is like how to get the data from Workday and send it to the vendor as per the specified format. So I'll just put in my integration name now. So first is like just what we have put in the name. If you want to put in any description or comment for this integration, you can do that. Click next, go to the next step. Here you have to tell what is the data source. So now in for EIBs, there are like 2 type of data source. One is the custom report and one is the web service. So if you write your web service, that can also extract as a data source. But typically for EIBs, we generally
Arun, can you repeat again?
yeah.
Arun, I'm not able to hear you. Can you repeat it again,
Okay.
please?
What I'm saying, whenever you create an EIB, so EIB takes 2 ways to extract data from Workday. One is the custom report and another is the web service. So now when you choose the web service, like let's just give you an example. When you choose the web service, you can tell which web service you want to do. Like suppose if we want to extract any worker information, there is a web service called get worker. So now you can choose this get worker web service and get your data. But typically for EIBs, whenever we create the EIB, 99% time always we create the EIBs on custom report. So as soon as I choose my data source type as custom report, I can select my web integrate report which I created, identify 2, 3, 6. So I've chosen my
in that case,
yeah.
when you use the web service option,
Yeah.
no, as in you said 99% of the time we use custom reports as data source
Yeah.
type. So in what scenario would we be using web service then?
Typically we use web service when we have to do a lot of transformation in terms of like multiple web service data. So typically web service are always being a part when we do the studio integrations. I mean for EIDs the best optimized way even Workday prefers is like create your custom report and create your EID. So typically when we go for the studio, we choose this option of like creating the web service in a studio and getting the data from Workday system.
Arun,
Yeah.
again, my audio is not very clear. I'm losing in between. I tell you where what you are saying EID. There are two things available. One is the web service, and another thing is a report. Right. After that,
Yeah.
I'm not able to hear you anything, Arun. Sorry about it.
Oh, okay, no problem. So what I was saying, is that fine, Bala?
Now it is fine, man.
So what I was saying is like if you see here, we have 2 types of things. One is custom report and one is web service. So typically, if I tell like every time whenever you have to create a EIB, your data source is always custom report, because that is the best optimized way to get the data. Reason being that a web service is predefined by Workday. It's a public API which is predefined by Workday, and it extracts all the data which is related to the worker. But with custom report, you can customize your things, like you can add your calculated fields here. You can add your text constants here directly, but not with
Yeah,
web service. Web service,
right.
it will pull out the data and then you have to write the XSLT and then work on your integration, right? But with custom, you can customize everything on the tenant itself and get it as a part of your EIB. So typically, whenever we create an EIB, we always go for the option of custom report. Okay.
Okay.
So when we choose the data source type as custom report, you can also choose like which report you have built in. Once I've chosen this, if I go to next, here there are multiple ways now. So one is, if I say that you can write the XSLT, and as soon as you write the XSLT, you can upload it here, and then like once you write the XSLT, you can upload it here. Or there is one more thing which is called the new custom report transformation. So that is a Workday defined template where you don't have to write any XSLT. Everything has been taken care by Workday. You just have to tell what is the delimiter. We have to choose what is the header you have to write, what is the footer you have to write, and then automatically everything will be done by Workday. So if you have to write an XSLT, that is, suppose if you do take EIB and a web service, then you can choose as a custom transformation and upload an XSLT. I'll tell you later about it, but let's just see how Workday delivered EIB transformation is done and how do we run the integrations. So you, for report, if it is directly a report you have added and directly you can use the EIB features, just choose the new custom report transformation. Click next. Here it's more like how do you want your file to be delivered. So it's more like either you just want it as an attachment. So once you run the integration, the file will be attached in the tenant. That is what is called Workday attachment. Then there is SFTP, FTP, HTTP, email, anything kind of the delivery model you can choose. And then based on the credentials you fill in, that file will be delivered to that particular address. Okay, right?
Arun,
Yeah,
suppose if you construct a report which
yeah.
has got a prompt, which has got prompts or the parameter, and that
Okay.
is an advanced report, and you made it as a web service. So when you have a prompts, right, how do you call an integration? Integration can pass initial values to the reports.
No, no, no. So while running this integration, it will ask you for the prompts,
Oh, okay, okay.
right? So there are two ways. One is like you run manually, and one is like you schedule the integration. So if you
Uh-huh.
schedule the integration, then it will ask you for the values. So at the time of scheduling, you can tell these are the two values which are my prompts, and then every time it will take that value and run the integrations automatically.
So generally, if you go to production, everything will be run in a
Schedule.
scheduler, right?
It will be scheduled.
Right.
Yeah.
So the parameters that you pass does not. I mean, they don't need to be static in nature all the time. It could be dynamic every day. It could change. At least, for example, if a particular date is involved, date probably you have a current date and
Yeah.
time. Something else is a dynamic in nature, and if you want to schedule them in a schedule them not in a manual mode, how do you pass that information?
Yeah, so I'll tell you. So typically, like majority of the integrations are like a change detection integrations, correct? The file which was sent last month, and for this month only send those records which are updated or changed in the system, correct?
Okay,
Typically, the
incremental
integrations are,
load.
typically the integrations are because of this only, right? That you
Uh,
send only the changes which has happened in the system, correct?
uh,
So what will be the date parameter? Date parameter will be when was the last integration which was
Plan.
completed and delivered the file, correct? And the today's date,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So there is a
Yeah.
predefined Workday field which is called the last successful integration run date. That is a
Okay.
dynamic, right? So for each integration, whenever that integration ran successfully, this field will be updated with that particular date on which this integration ran, right?
Hmm.
So next
Hmm.
time while you'll run this integration, it will fetch the value of the last successful integration run, right?
So if you want to move it back, how can you move it back? For example, I ran it today. I run it today, I mess up with the data, right, in my the downstream systems. So I want again from day before yesterday, right? So if I run it again, it is going to start from the place where it left last time successfully. Suppose we want to go back, is it possible that you can go and change the metadata, the dates?
So typically we don't do the scheduling. We don't make the changes in the scheduling. If any such thing happens, then as a part of the support and the maintenance, this integration is run ad hoc manually. Okay, and then we put in the date parameters manually and then send the file.
Oh, that way. Okay, got it.
Right?
Got
Because
it.
there is no point of changing the schedule as it will disturb lot many things. So automatic processing is never changed. Whenever if there is any such thing fails, then once we run the manual run of that integration, the last successful integration run date will be today's date when I'm running it manually, right? And then next time when it will be scheduled, it will take that data and then run the integration.
Okay. Okay.
Correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
So now I'll choose this as a Workday attachment. I'll tell the file name like int5236 underscore employee underscore information dot csv. So there's one more thing which is like, since we are using it as a Workday as an attachment, then we can tell in the Workday system how long do you want that file to be present. So you can put is typically the general Workday scenario or any client wants is 30 days, but it's purely up to the client, like how much time do you want that file to be stayed in Workday system, right? So once you fill in all those details, you can click
There's no
next.
upper cap. There's any upper cap? No.
Upper cap means
The days, any max limit for the days?
no,
Okay.
right? So once I'm done with all my data, I click OK. So my integration is done now. That is, I have created my integration. Now, if you remember, I had chosen the custom report transformation. That is, now I have to use the EIB feature to tell how do I generate the data as per the format. So the way to do is like go to the EIB actions, go to the enterprise interface and click on configure transformation. So as you see here, there are two ways. If you see, one is the uses delimited and one is the use fixed width. So fixed width files are like every field will have a fixed width. Like suppose if you're saying 0 to 10, then it will only have 10 characters. If it is like less than 10 characters, it will add up space or similarly like that, right? So since right now our requirement is use delimited file, and the delimiter we have to choose is comma, since CSV file is comma separated. So I'll choose my delimiter as comma. Then there's one thing which is called the line feed. Line feed is like after every row, go to the next line and print the new row, right? It should not be on a single row. Every time whenever you add in a row, go to the line feed and click enter to next to the row and then enter the records. So every time a new row will be printed, then the second row will be printed in the next line, and similarly like that. There's
So
one more thing.
this is you are
Yeah,
doing because you are not providing your own XSLT. You are
exactly.
depending on the Workday provided XSLT. That's the reason you are going and doing this step.
So, but this is more optimized and more easier because you don't have to write the XSLT, you don't have to upload it.
No, I understand that. I understand that. So in case if you
Yeah.
have an XSLT, this step can be bypassed. Am I right?
This will not become. This will not come because then we'll choose the custom transformation, not the custom
Okay.
report transformation. It choose the custom transformation, and
Right.
then it will ask
Yeah.
you to upload the XSLT, right? And then
Understood.
that XSLT. Sorry.
Go ahead, Arun. Go ahead, Arun.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, so there is another thing which is called the carriage return. There's one like whenever you would have seen in some sample files or like whenever it is, there's one more feature called the carriage return. It's just like putting an exclamation after every row. I don't know why this has been used, but this is for some older systems, legacy systems, which were using line feed and CR as their nomination that this record is ending here and the new record is coming as next line. So there was one more thing which was the carriage return also, but typically line feed is always being used in a scenario. So now if you see here, these are the fields which we had in our report, right? If you see, all the fields are here, and here, since it is a delimited file, So column width will not have any significance. If it is a fixed width file, for each row column you will tell, okay, this is my fixed width, like 10, 20, 30, whatever it is. There's one more thing which is called the prefix and suffix character. So what does this mean is, every record, every column will be in quotes. If suppose some of your requirement is, let's say that each thing, like just if you see the quotes are here, right? If the client wants that each thing has to be enclosed in quotes, then you will use this prefix and suffix as quotes. If you don't want, you just remove it. So I'll leave it for a few so that we can understand what is the difference. So let's say take an example that our text constants are to be in quotes and remaining things should not be in quotes. So we are just taking the same example. So I'm leaving for these two things. For last name, I'm removing because I think we don't need it. Let's do it for first name as well. So you can also choose the padding character, like if it is a fixed width file and if it is not of full length, then what is the padding you have to choose, as either a space or anything kind of that, right? So once you have this thing, there's one more column called header. So if you want to include default header, you can choose your that default. So default header will just take the report name, like whatever the alias was, and it will print that. If you want to create your optional one, you can write down here and tell what is the header. So I'm just leaving right now no header. Like if you want to add a footer as well, you can write down the footer as well. So once you are done with this, like once you have added everything, once you have done all those things, users delimited and everything, and if you click OK, your custom transformation is done. Now, there's my EIB. Now your EIB is ready to run because everything has been configured, everything has been completed. So how do we run the EIB? You go to EIB, go to integrations and click on launch. So if you see here, there are two ways. One is like a run now, then in future, minute, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. Uh, any way you can like schedule your integrations. It's purely up to you guys. So now I'll do it like run now. Okay. So there are two things. It will ask file name and document retention policy. You can directly even give the name here, but since we have already configured it in the EIB itself, what we are choosing is like use system default, and similarly the same thing, that is document retention policy. Also we had given there, so I'm choosing the use system default. You can make it like specify value. You can send in the value like this should be my file name or anything kind of that. So since everything we have given in the EIB, it will always be chosen as use system default. If I click OK, this is the process page will come up, like which will tell what is the status of your integration, how much it has been processed. You can keep on refreshing to see where it has reached and kind of things. So now if you see your integration has been completed, there's one output file which has been generated. I'll go to there later. I'll just show you everything, whatever it comes up. So it will tell like who initiated integration, when this was completed, who ran this, what is the interface, whether it was successfully completed or not. All the log files which will be generated will tell like how your integration ran, what kind of data it used, and what kind of log it happened. And then also it will tell okay what happened. So once was like we ran the integration, then report was retrieved, and then custom report transformation happened. So if you see, all the things are completed successfully. So now I'll go to my output files. I'll download my file. So now if you see here,
How did you
right?
get that? Can you explain me how did you get that?
What?
The file.
Okay. So if you go to the output file section of the background process, this is the file which is being attached,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just download it. If you click on this file will be downloaded,
Okay.
and then you can just open it and see.
Okay. So Arun, let me ask this question. Okay.
Yeah,
Suppose you run it now. You have the output got generated, right? And
yeah.
you forgot to download it. Okay. And you ran the extraction again, right? With the different parameters. It assume, right? And it created another output. So is there any way that you can go to the previous run and get the corresponding output?
Sorry, Bala.
No, man, you have an integration, okay?
Yeah,
You ran the integration by 10 a.m. Assume that. So your integration ran and output got created, right?
yeah.
For some reason, you forgot to download the output, okay?
Okay.
Uh, okay, and by 11 o'clock, you are running the integration again, hopefully with a different parameters or different thing, whatever, right? What I'm trying to say is the output one and output two are going to be different, right?
Oh,
So now output two got generated, right? I forgot to download the output one. Is there any way that you can go back to a particular run of that integration and take the corresponding output?
so yeah. So what happens is every time when you run integration, its output will be attached. Okay. So now what you have
Mhm.
to do is go to the integration. Let's suppose this is my integration, right? I'll just open the integration. And in the integrations, you can see all the events which has run. So if you click on this, it will ask you like what is the date parameters you want to put in. You can just leave it blank, then it will display all the events. So here you will see all the events. So till now we have run only one integration, right? One time only with this integration has run. That's why it's showing as integration event like only once. So it will run 10 times.
Mhm.
All the events will be created. You go to that particular event and download the file,
Wonderful, man. Got it.
right? So is
You
that
call
fine?
you call it as an integration event, huh?
Events, all the events of the integration will come,
Okay.
and it will tell whether it is a successful one, whether it is a failed one, everything. So if you see like integration event status completed, if it will fail it will be failed, if it is like with
What
warning it will be with warning.
what could be the reason for failure?
So it can be anything, like suppose your suppose somebody would have deleted your calculated field, because everything is run manually, not everything is run automatically, right? In the future, suppose by
Hmm.
mistake any calculated field has been deleted or anything has happened, or maybe
Hmm.
server is not present, any reason could have been like because of which the integration failed, right?
Okay.
So is that
No,
making
because
sense?
So Arun,
I don't.
if
Yeah,
go ahead, Bala.
No, no, Seema, go ahead, Seema. I can go ahead, Seema.
Okay, so
yeah. Seema,
years happen.
yeah, please.
Can you hear me, Arun?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So if there is a failure, then is there a way that we can check the log files, like where is the failure,
Exactly.
so that we
So
can
what will
fix
happen
it?
is these are the log files which are generated. So this one is which is called the view consolidated report and logs. So you download it. Let's just open one. Let's just open that once. So if I open this, it will tell you all the steps like what happened. Everything will be displayed here. If there is any error, it will show the error message as well. Everything will be displayed in these logs only.
This log is in XML.
This is one is the XML. This is the text file. So everything is typically being logged, but you can open it in your Notepad plus or anything kind of that. And in this, it will tell you like what is the error or if any error has come up or anything like that. It will show. So since this integration did not error out, I'll show you some integration events which like fails, and then you can see what is the log about it.
I
Right?
can write one integration for you to happen a failure, man.
I'll give this task to you now, guys, that to create a report, to create EIB, and then we'll see how it goes.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, for failure, I can definitely produce something.
No, I mean, failures are the best way to run that. So, but anyways, is that fine? Like, is that making sense to everybody about the CIB part?
What is the EI? You said what is an expansion for that? Enterprise integrations.
Interface
What is that?
builder.
Say it again fully.
Builder, enterprise interface builder.
Oh, interface builder.
Yeah. So
Enterprise
integration is
interface.
the interface, right?
Right.
Is
I
that
remember you say, yeah, I remember you saying that you've been asked this question, right?
yeah,
One of the interviews.
yeah. But typically,
Okay.
these are generally being asked when you're like just coming into the workday. They might ask you, but that is of no significance even if I don't know the form of EIB, right?
That's true, man.
If
That's
I know
true.
how to build an EIB, what is the significance of me knowing what is the full form of EIB?
That's right.
Right. So is that making sense about the complete EIB part?
Yes, I think so. I need to practice, but I think so.
Any
Arun, one
question?
more question. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we run these integrations, so once the output is generated and put in some folder, FTP or whatever, so in that case, does it replace the older files or it keeps on?
It depends on how your SFTP is configured. Like typically those are the vendor side things. So typically vendor like once they give us the credentials, they always tell replace the existing file or add a new file in that sense. That is
So
a
okay,
SFTP protocol, right?
okay. So either
So,
ways we can configure that.
Yeah.
okay.
Typically what
So
happens is like yeah.
go ahead, Gaurav. I thought you completed.
Typically what
Go.
happens is like that once you create these integrations, you put in the date as well in the file name. So every time there will be a new file because every time there will be a run that will take the system name, right?
Mm.
So then there's no point like whether it is a particular same name file or not. If it is a same name file, then it is configured in the SFTP that you replace the older one with the new one. Yes, Bala, you are asking something.
Yeah, my question is in the beginning of this today's session, you told that it is accessible from outside. Just want to ask you. I
Yeah.
written a report, advanced report, and I made it available as a web service. Okay.
Okay.
System has provided when you make that as a web service, the system will provide you the URL or the namespace for that particular report. Am I right?
When we go for that custom report, right? Yes. Yeah, Bala. Hello.
Yeah. Hey, hello, Arun.
Yeah, Bala. Go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, man. I got a call in between. So, if you make one particular report as a web service, is it possible that I can call it from outside, not from the
No,
tenant?
no. So you have to have your credentials to open that up. So typically, like when we create any login ID passwords for particular vendors, then only they can open.
Okay. So I cannot, but the APIs are given, right? So, for example, if I want to, you said the worker web service APIs is available,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, those worker APIs is again can be called externally, or I cannot even call externally.
You can call it externally, but again, you have to have your user credentials to hit the tenant, right?
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, no. I mean, I understand that Tom, Dick, and Harry cannot access this. I understand that. But if you establish a connection, proper connection with the tenant, yes, probably you can call the RIP service, get the data from, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So that is how the studio is going to work.
Correct.
Okay, got it, man.
Right. So is that all making sense till now?
Yes.
So now it's up to
And
you guys.
I just want to take a time to really appreciate our team member, man. He shared some documents with us. It is really good, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks Anil for that.
So Anil, if you're able to find one for studio, please share it to me, right? Okay. And I try to share some information from our company, right? Like documents, right?
So now I'm leaving it on to you guys to create a custom report, whatever the fields you want to choose in, and then create the CIB and just run it and let me know what is the output, and then we can take a look into all those CIB, how it
Sure,
goes.
sure. So Arun, I'm requesting you, Arun, to get the access for the community, man, because our course is going to be ended very soon, and then we'll become orphan, man. Please,
No problem, Bala. I'll definitely take care of it. I
right,
cannot tell you exact time frame, but definitely I'll try.
right. Is anything that we need to put as a whole group? We need to put a request to Asha. Then we probably will,
I mean,
we'll send a group email.
you can do that, because that is where how they're getting the tenant. They can definitely look into the community
Okay.
access as well.
So, Asha, I'm going to send an email from my side. Like, this is what my requirement is. I need to have an user ID password or some kind of a setup so that I can access the community. So, please, all of us can be sent, and that will be really add a weightage, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, Bala. Yeah, Bala.
But I know there is a lot of documents are there, right? Um, right. That's what I'm saying.
Sure,
I have
you
writ-
can.
I've written a small routine to download all the documents the moment I get the user ID and password. Okay.
Right.
Right.
So that's it about EIB and custom report, inbound EIB and custom report. So take a time, build this, and then we can see how it goes for you guys, and then we'll move forward with the further integration.
Sure, man. Sure, man.
Any
Okay.
other questions related to this, or else then we can like wrap it up?
Arun, did you
Arun,
get a chance to work on that
Not yet.
question? I
Not yet, Seema. Not yet.
okay.
So that's all right. Can I exit, man? People are really looking for me. They don't.
Yeah,
I don't want them to declare me a absconded person.
no, no, please.
Can
Arun,
I
my
exit?
question.
Yeah, yeah, Bala.
Yeah, Bala, yeah, Bala.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, Bala.
Bye.
Yeah.
So, Arun, my question is on the side of financial. So, if you having lots of reports on my side, say as a client, so there
Okay.
is any charges on the hard disk utilization on type of SaaS?
No, nothing is paid in that sense.
Nothing is paid in that actually. Okay, because if I run near about 20 to 25 reports and it will create a I think physical file, right?
Yeah.
So that physical
Nothing is charged
file.
in that. Nothing is charged in that sense for clients.
Oh, okay.
Right then, guys. So I've made this in the tenant which you'll be working. The integration is simple. You can take a look and then you can configure.
Yes, Arun. Today's session is very
And
good, Arun.
Sure. Yeah, Seema, you're asking something?
no, no, Arun. I think that's all
Or
the
then
questions.
do the practice and let's connect tomorrow to see how it goes for you guys. Right?
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Thanks,
Okay.
Arun.
okay.
Bye,
Thank you,
Anand.
thank you,
Anil.
thank you, Anil, for sending the documents.